No matter how independent he seems, how tough, how emotionally unavailable, there's one thing every man secretly craves, the feeling that he's irreplaceable. Not just liked or desired, needed in a way that shakes the armor he wears every day. But here's the paradox. He'll never admit it. He'll hide it behind jokes, bravado, even anger. It's the part of his ego Jung wonders about, the secret wound every man tries to protect, the one spot he'll defend with his life. Yet if you know how to touch it, you'll awaken a hunger in him stronger than attraction, more addictive than romance. Think about the men you've known, the ones who left you guessing, the ones who suddenly pulled away, the ones who chased you at first and then vanished. It wasn't your fault, it wasn't about your worth, your beauty, or even your effort. Most women are taught to win love by pleasing, giving, or proving themselves, but Jungian psychology turns that advice upside down. It says, don't chase love, don't chase him. Find the hidden thread in his ego, the thread that, once tugged, makes him feel truly seen. It's not about playing hard to get or acting disinterested. That's just surface level and men see through it. The real magic happens when you touch the one thing he's most afraid to lose, his sense of being special in your eyes. It's a quiet affirmation, a subtle shift in energy. Maybe it's the way you listen, without judgment, to the dreams he's never told anyone else. Maybe it's the way you notice his quiet victories or respect his silences instead of filling them with words. It's the difference between attention and recognition, between flattery and genuine admiration. When you do this, you bypass every wall he's ever built. You disarm him, not with words, but with a kind of presence that feels rare in a world obsessed with performance. And the truth is, most men are starving for this kind of recognition, even if they act like they don't need it. So why is this so powerful? Because ego is the engine of a man's identity. When a woman touches that core, not through praise, but through authentic understanding, it ignites a pursuit that can outlast any game or strategy. Suddenly he's no longer chasing a fantasy, he's chasing the real you, the woman who sees past his defenses into his deepest need. You've seen it before, even if you didn't have words for it. He acts distant, he tests you, he pulls back just when things get close, leaving you confused and doubting yourself. The truth is, this isn't about you, it's about his ego, and the shadow Jung described. Every man's ego is shaped by childhood, by secret fears, by the hidden rules he was taught about love and power. When you step into his world, you're not just dealing with his present self. You're meeting all the ghosts that taught him what it means to be a man. Most women try to break through by asking for more attention, more commitment, more proof that he cares. But the shadow side of the male ego resists pressure. The more you chase, the more he slips away. It's not because he doesn't care, it's because, deep down, he's terrified of being exposed, of feeling not enough. Jung called this the inferior function, the part of the psyche that feels small, vulnerable, always on the edge of being found out. But here's where things shift. The woman who truly touches a man's ego doesn't try to heal him or fix him, she simply sees him. She knows the signs, the way his body tenses when he feels judged, the flicker of pride when you notice the effort he puts into the smallest things, the silence he keeps when he's not sure how to be strong and soft at the same time. Instead of demanding, she acknowledges. Instead of criticizing, she recognizes. This isn't flattery, it's not manipulation, it's a form of respect, and it runs deeper than compliments. When you acknowledge his invisible battles, you speak to the part of him that wants to be a hero, not just in the world, but in your eyes. Suddenly, the old dance changes. He doesn't feel the need to run, he leans in. He starts to reveal the truth beneath the masks, his doubts, his hopes, his hidden softness. Jung believed every relationship is an alchemy, a chance to see what's buried and bring it into the light. When a woman learns to recognize the shadow at play in a man's ego, she no longer personalizes his distance. She understands that his coldness is not a rejection, but a defense, and when she responds with curiosity instead of accusation, she unlocks a deeper trust. The result? He starts to chase, not because you withheld affection or played games, but because you became the rare person who saw him without judgment. He feels safe to drop the performance, to risk being real. That's when the chase becomes genuine, lasting, and magnetic. Not the chase for conquest, but the pursuit of connection. You might think winning a man's heart is about saying the right thing or looking a certain way, but the most powerful messages never leave your lips. They're spoken through body language, energy, and timing. Here's the secret. Men listen less to your words and more to your silent signals. And the one thing his ego craves most? To feel chosen. Not just liked, but chosen above all others. This is where the dance of body language and ego meets. When you turn your attention to him, even for a moment, with full presence, no phone, no distractions, he feels it in his bones. Your gaze lingers just a second longer. Your smile says, "I see you," without giving everything away. You don't rush to fill the silence. Instead, you allow it to hang, making space for him to step forward, to offer, to impress. In that pause, he feels the weight of his own importance. Notice how men react when you withdraw your attention. Not as punishment, but as a natural shift. If his energy grows cold or he begins to pull away, resist the urge to chase. Instead, reclaim your center. Return to your own life, your purpose, your friends, your growth. This subtle withdrawal, graceful, not dramatic, signals to his ego that your attention is valuable, that he must earn it, not demand it. But here's the twist. When he does something real, when he shows vulnerability or effort, reflect it back. A soft nod, a quiet, "I noticed." The smallest acknowledgments offered sparingly become like gold to his ego. He doesn't want endless praise. He wants genuine recognition, short, specific, and honest. Jung believed that ego is always hungry for meaning. A man's sense of self depends on feedback from the world, and especially from the women he cares about. If he feels invisible, he withdraws. If he feels smothered, he rebels. But if he feels recognized, not just for his status, but for his effort, his integrity, his growth, he becomes fiercely loyal. So the silent message you send is this: I see the man you are becoming. I don't need to control you, fix you, or chase you. I respect your journey, and I choose to be present with you, right now. These are words you rarely have to speak out loud, but he will feel them deeply. Most women aren't taught this. Instead, we grow up believing that love means doing more, explaining, fixing, proving our worth. When a man withdraws, the urge is to work harder, to show him just how much he matters, to overcompensate for his distance. But this only feeds the shadow side of his ego, the side that secretly resents feeling needed on demand. Jung's insight was simple, yet radical. The more you chase, the more a man's ego retreats into its shell. It's not cruelty, it's self-preservation. He's wired to crave the feeling of being chosen, not out of your desperation, but from your fullness. When your happiness and identity don't depend on him, you become a mystery he wants to solve, a burden he wants to escape. This is the quiet power of boundaries. Not coldness, not punishment, but a calm return to your own center. When you're anchored in your own life, your passions, your friendships, your inner healing, you send a message to his subconscious. I am not here to complete you. I am here because I choose to be. That, more than anything, touches the deepest part of his ego. It invites him to step up, not just to keep you, but to be worthy of you. The women who effortlessly draw men in don't do it by playing games or withholding affection. They do it by refusing to abandon themselves in the pursuit of someone else. Their self-respect isn't loud or demanding. It's a steady flame, and it calls to the healthiest part of a man's ego, the part that wants to rise, to be enough, to earn his place beside her. Breaking the cycle means unlearning the old rules, that love is about self-sacrifice, that your value comes from what you give away. The truth is, the more you know yourself, your boundaries, your desires, your shadow, the less you have to chase anyone. You become a magnet, not because you make a man the center of your world, but because you make yourself the center of your own. And in that space, the chase flips. He's drawn not to your approval, but to your presence, not to your need, but to your wholeness. Imagine this. You stop trying to impress him, to convince him, to bend yourself into what you think he wants. Instead, you become deeply present in your own life. Your energy shifts. Suddenly, you're not watching his every move, waiting for his affection, or measuring your worth by his response. You're living, You're growing, you're radiating a quiet confidence that no words can fake. That's when he notices. Something in him awakens. It's not just attraction, it's a deeper pull. His ego senses a challenge, but not the kind that comes from mind games or manipulation. It's the challenge of earning a place in your world, of proving to himself that he can be the man you see in him. Men crave a sense of purpose in love, not just comfort. When you treat his efforts as valuable, when you honor his boundaries and respect your own, you activate a part of him that wants to protect, provide, and pursue. This isn't about stroking his pride or surrendering your power. It's about creating a dynamic where devotion is earned, not demanded. So, what does this look like in daily life? It's choosing your words carefully. When he does something kind, notice it without gushing or exaggerating. When he makes a mistake, respond with calm honesty, not with blame or martyrdom. Your feedback becomes a mirror, not of his flaws, but of his growth. Your body language, too, becomes a silent invitation. When you're open, relaxed, and grounded, he feels it. When you're tense or desperate, he feels that too. The more you master your own energy, the less you need to control his. Paradoxically, the less you try to make him chase, the more he feels compelled to do so. This is the alchemy Jung spoke of, the subtle transformation that happens when two people bring their shadows into the light. As you honor your own boundaries, you teach him, wordlessly, how to honor his. As you trust yourself, you invite him to trust you. The dance of ego and desire becomes a partnership, not a battlefield. In the end, the devotion you inspire isn't built on fear of loss, but on the joy of discovery. He chases not because you're hard to get, but because you're impossible to forget. Every relationship is a mirror. When you learn to touch the deepest part of a man's ego, you're also learning about your own. The patterns that play out between two people are never just his, they're yours too. The urge to chase, to fix, to win love at any cost often comes from wounds you didn't create, but now have the power to heal. Jung taught that every person carries both light and shadow. The shadow isn't bad, it's simply the part of ourselves we learn to hide. For women, the shadow might whisper, "You're not enough unless you're chosen." For men, it might say, "You're only valuable if you're wanted." When two people meet from these wounds, the relationship becomes a stage for old fears, silent tests, and endless disappointment. But something powerful happens when you see the shadow for what it is. You stop making his withdrawal mean you're unworthy. You stop making your longing mean you're weak. Instead, you become aware. You can choose moment by moment to return to yourself, your breath, your heart, your truth. This presence is magnetic. It's the reason some women walk into a room and quietly draw every eye, without saying a word. Healing happens in these small choices, choosing silence over pleading, curiosity over accusation, self-care over self-sacrifice. When you meet your own shadow with compassion, you invite him to do the same. Suddenly, the ego dance loses its power. Neither of you needs to win or lose. There's nothing to prove. And in this space where your boundaries are clear, your intentions are honest, and your heart is open, a new kind of intimacy is born. One that's not about chasing or being chased, but about growing together. You become a mirror for each other's courage. The love that grows here is deeper, more resilient, and truly rare. So what does it look like when you've truly touched this secret part of his ego? He shifts. He starts to show up in new ways, not just with words, but with actions. He initiates. He listens. He becomes curious about your world, not just his own. It might not be grand gestures at first. It's in the way he remembers the little things you care about, the way he tries to solve problems, not just escape them. Sometimes the change is subtle. He might reach out just to hear your voice or share something ordinary about his day. His body language opens up, his posture relaxes, he leans in, he makes more eye contact. The small walls start to crumble. For the first time, he feels safe to be seen, not just admired. But here's what matters. When this is the moment when the game of power turns into a partnership. He chases not out of fear of losing you, but from a genuine desire to be close to you. He feels drawn to your confidence, your boundaries, your self-respect, and you, in turn, feel free to receive without anxiety, to love without losing yourself. Sometimes this is the most uncomfortable part, letting yourself be seen, letting him step forward, letting the energy flow toward you instead of away. If you've been used to doing all the work, all the healing, all the chasing, this feels foreign. But it's also where true growth lives. The healthiest love stories are built in this space, where neither person is desperate and both are choosing day by day to be there. The power of letting go and trusting the process. Here's the paradox most never see. The more you trust yourself, the less you feel the need to hold on tightly to anyone else. When you've touched the part of a man's ego that makes him want to chase you, the old anxiety, the need to control, to force, to secure love begins to fade. You stop watching his every move, waiting for reassurance or fearing he'll leave. Instead, you relax into a quiet trust, not just in him, but in yourself. This doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop gripping. You allow space for mystery, for him to show up in his own way, in his own time. You understand that your worth was never up for negotiation. You are not chasing love, you are living it from the inside out. Sometimes letting go looks like silence. Sometimes it's a gentle no when your boundaries are crossed. Sometimes it's simply returning to your own joy, your own life, your own dreams. And the more you do this, the more magnetic you become. It's a paradox Carl Jung understood deeply. When you no longer need validation, you become the most validating presence in any room. This is where his devotion grows roots, not in fear or need, but in admiration. He wants to be around you, not because he's afraid to lose you, but because he feels more himself in your presence. You are the rare woman who is both a safe harbor and an adventure. He feels challenged, cherished, inspired, and you feel free. Sometimes he will test you, consciously or unconsciously. He might withdraw to see if you'll chase, if you'll bend, if you'll become small, but every time you hold your ground with grace, you teach him something new about love. You show him that closeness and freedom can exist together, that passion doesn't require possession, that real love is a choice, not a competition. And the more you live this truth, the more he chases not just you, but the best version of himself, drawn out by the way you see him, becoming the exception, the woman he never forgets. When you understand these dynamics, you become the exception in his life, the woman he compares everyone else to, even when he can't explain why. It's not because you played harder to get or learned the right tricks. It's because you dared to see him, not just the version he shows the world, but the quiet boy underneath, the man still searching for meaning. You become unforgettable because you touch the places inside him that even he avoids. Your presence reminds him that love isn't about earning or achieving, it's about awakening, the soft, slow unveiling of the soul beneath the armor. When you see him clearly and refuse to lose yourself in the process, you offer a kind of intimacy that most people only dream about. There's a quiet legacy to this kind of love. He may chase you with everything he has, not because you demand it, but because you inspire it. He finds himself wanting to grow, to heal, to show up for you in ways he's never shown up before. Not out of obligation, but out of devotion. He will remember the woman who never tried to fix him, but believed in his power to become more. But here's the secret Jung knew. This isn't really about him, the chase, the ego, the devotion. These are all reflections. What truly matters is the relationship you build with yourself. The more you honor your boundaries, your healing, your inner world, the more you raise the standard for every relationship you allow in. You become magnetic, not just to men, but to every opportunity, every joy, every part of life that waits for you beyond old stories and wounds. In this way, the woman who touches a man's ego and makes him chase isn't chasing love at all. She's living it, quietly, boldly, on her own terms. And as she does, she leaves an imprint that time and distance can't erase. But there's one thing left, one truth most women never discover, but that changes everything the moment you see it. The truth no one tells you. So here's the question that remains, echoing beneath every word, every glance, every silent moment. What if the part of a man's ego that you're meant to touch is the same part you've been afraid to claim in yourself? Carl Jung believed the real journey isn't about changing another person, it's about awakening the lost pieces of your own soul. All the power, all the magic, all the love you seek in him is a reflection of what already lives in you. The chase isn't just happening out there, it's happening inside you, between the woman you've always been and the woman you're becoming. Will you dare to touch your own shadow, the way you wish he'd let you touch his? Will you become the kind of woman who no longer waits to be chosen? Because she has already chosen herself, fully, unapologetically, every single day. This is the secret few ever discover. And once you do, everything changes.